Hello, welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm going to give you a quick update on the training I've been doing, and well, the big event, the big races are almost here. So this is how I've peaked for my target race. My first target race is coming up in about 5 days. That's the Hellenic Mountain Race in Greece. And yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it. So I'll run you through the training I've done. So just a quick one on the race itself. So the Hellenic Mountain Race is one of the mountain race series, so that includes the Atlas and the Silk Road race and the New Taurus race. And this one's a bit of a climb fest, basically. I think it's almost 28,000 meters of climbing and a little under 600 miles. Pretty rugged mountains in Greece. And here's the profile on Rival GPS. You can see it's just, there's no flat basically. So yeah, I did it last year. I wasn't initially planning to do this race this year. I was entered for the Trans-Balkan race, but unfortunately something's cropped up, which means I'm not able to go to that one. But to be honest, it's no bad thing going back to the Hellenic race. I really enjoyed it last year. I did fairly well. I was fourth last year, only half an hour off the podium. So there is a little bit of unfinished business. So yeah, so that is, I'm going to explain how I've kind of ended up getting in sort of hopefully top form for this race. However, before I go any further, I just have to do a big shout out to Talk Fitness, who are sponsoring my training videos, and they've been fueling my training, as you probably know by now, throughout this season. Yeah, I'm going to be taking a load of products for the first couple of days on the Hellenic race. Obviously, resupply is a big thing in these races. However, if you can carry some really sort of calorie dense product at the start, it really does sort of stand you in good stead for the first couple of days. So I'm going to be relying on these Explore flapjacks. They're basically kind of flapjacks, but on with extra carbs in them. And the nice thing about them is that there's loads of different flavors. I have done starts of races on energy product before, and after kind of half a day, you just fed up with it. But I find with the flapjacks, they're a bit more like real food, and they have some punch. They're, depending on the flavor, they're between 30 and 40 grams of carbs per bar. So I'll probably start with sort of 10, 15 of those with me. And then also I will supplement with some more traditional energy products. So I'll start with a bottle full of the new Talk 1-to-1 sort of high carb drink. So I'll probably start with a bottle with about 150 grams of carbs in it. And I'll probably water that down as I go. I'll have one bottle with the drink in and one just plain water. But yeah, as I kind of get to refill, obviously that will become slightly more diluted. But yeah, good stuff. Just getting that energy in there for the first day. On these ultras, you always, whether you like it or not, doesn't matter how controlled you're trying to be, you always end up going harder than you should. And obviously the harder the effort, the more you need to fuel it. So I'll be relying on the high carb Talk stuff and a load of gels. They're 40 grams per gel. So for the first sort of 6, 7, 8 hours, I'll be on 1 or 2 gels an hour, I suspect. And then after that, I just try and keep a stash just to keep me going. So maybe when I get to a big climb that I know is going to be an hour, I'll just pop a gel at the start of that and then rely on kind of more normal food that I can pick up on the way. But yeah, Talk stuff, I've been using it all year. So yeah, check them out. I've got a discount code as well. I'll put that up on the screen for you. So yeah, thanks to Talk for supporting me. So let's get over to Training Peaks, and I'll show you what I've been up to. I know everyone likes good nose. It feels a bit like a big secret I'm telling everyone because I'm sharing my training, but it's nothing particularly special. So I think the last time I discussed my training, I'd just done the Dales Divide, which was at the start of at Easter. So I'd done the Dales Divide, and then I'd, where are we? I'm a bit lost now. Dales Divide here. So that was a big week. And then I'd been to Mallorca for a family holiday. So I'd ended up doing some fairly big weeks there. So that was, well, with an ultra in it, 43 hours on the bike, which is fairly substantial. And then I backed it up with another sort of 16 or so hours. Then I had a bit of a rest, and then I did the inside test, which I think I told you about before. So that is the numbers weren't necessarily much higher, but my body fat was lower. I was quite a bit lighter, so I was 72.5 kilos. And then I kind of rolled off the back of that into some training. So I ended up almost another 18 hours this week, and this is the peaking phase. So basically, I'm just going to really try and push quite hard, quite a lot of threshold, quite a lot of super threshold, so just over threshold, and a bit more of the VO2 type thing, so over under. The results of the inside test basically said I was about 86% efficient. So my LT1 was 86% of my LT2, which is good because that's kind of what you want on an ultra race. However, to get any more kind of gains, I needed to push that up, really push the LT2 up, push the VO2 max up. So I started doing a bit more work around that, and just basically just really trying to put the hours in as well. So the plan was to, get some intensity. By this point, the weight stuff, I've talked about the weights throughout and the rock climbing. Kind of trying to do once a week on the climbing and once a week on the weights when I could, but as you can see, there's some various other things. And basically just try and, be really consistent. I've managed to be consistent quite a lot this year. So this final run-in, I just wanted to really nail the numbers and see what I could do. So, I was basically doing I like to do 3 days on, 1 day off, but never quite works out that way. So this one here, you can see I did the inside test, then I did some sweet spot efforts. Obviously the inside test is quite intense, so that's basically VO2 max. And then I backed it up with some sweet spot, so 3 by 30 minutes. And the nice thing is you can see I'm starting to get all the peak performances coming through, which is, it's been a while coming. I find sometimes you're slogging yourself all year and nothing's happening. You don't seem to be getting any better. Then suddenly they all start to come through. So that was nice to see. And then I did a long ride, so 5 hours with some gym. This was basically a rest day. And then I did, I was at the Bespoke show here. So essentially I wasn't going to be able to train properly for 3 days. So rather than doing 3 days on, 1 day off, I decided to do 2 hard days. So sweet spot bursts. So that's kind of basically riding sweet spot for about 2.5 minutes, and then about 15 seconds basically sprinting, and doing that for 20 odd minutes 3 times. Fairly intense, is kind of an evolution of the sweet spot training, and it hits the VO2 max a little bit more. Basically just drags the form out of you. So I did that, and then some of the fax max training that I've been doing and talking about. I do think that's quite an important element of the training I do, especially for these longer rides. And when my efficiency is up at sort of 86%, that's it shows it's working. So that was 6 by 30, so that's quite a big one. It's a long old ride, but I do find they work for me. And then rather than having a full rest day, I just sort of tickled the pedals for a bit, so about 2.5 hours. I think I was just going to ride to the physio and catch the train back, but actually I felt quite good, so I rode home as well. So almost 3 hours there, but just not really pushing the pedals. And then I ended up doing a long ride, nearly 6 hours, and then these kind of backloaded threshold blocks. So you're kind of doing a bit of medio at the start of the ride, or just to sort of get the fatigue in your legs, and then you do your threshold, basically 3 by 10 at the end of the workout, and that helps your durability as well. And then I was off to the bike show, so standing up for a couple of days, it's never the best. Maybe drank too many beers, doesn't always help things. And then got to go for a bike ride at least. There's a ride out on the Albion ride out on the Sunday morning, so I got to pedal for a couple of hours at least. So it did kind of loosen the legs off a bit. And then I knew, it's been really busy in the last few weeks. I then had the gravel rally, which is an event in North Wales. So it's kind of like it's a long day out, but there's sections within the ride that you race. So that was at the end of the week. So this was a pretty big week actually, almost 24 hours by the time it was done, or 22 hours on the bike at least. So I started doing some super threshold efforts, which you can see here, and I did 4 6-minute efforts. So basically 4 6-minute efforts at about, I think it's about 105 to 110%. Or no, 100 to 105% threshold. And then, finished that off with just some full 1 minute full gas efforts just near the end, just to hit the VO2 max a little bit, just to drag a little bit more out. And then got on the heat workouts. So there's quite a lot of heat workouts over the few weeks here. Bear in mind, it is getting warmer now, so I can get some kind of heat benefit, or at least maintenance, just by riding at this time of year. So sometimes I just chuck a rain jacket on for the last 45 minutes, half hour of ride. If it's warm enough, you actually get a bit of heat benefit there, so I don't have to sit on the turbo trainer in my down jacket, because to be honest, it does suck a little bit, especially when it's sunny out. But I was doing a bit of that. Obviously, I want to keep my heat adaptation up going into this race. Greece, the weather's going to be changeable, but it can be quite hot. It can also be quite cold, but when you're on long climbs, especially in the woods, it can get quite humid. So I wanted to be quite heat adapted going into the Hellenic race. So this was my kind of the little play I was doing in terms of training. So the super threshold, and then back it up the next day with the over-unders. Pretty hard, probably not recommended most of the time. This is how I fried myself a little bit back in March. I kind of forgot actually how hard it is. But actually when I'm really on form, which I'm getting now, I can soak it up and complete the workouts quite well. And then I did some gym at the end of that, and then back it up with like a 5-hour ride the next day. Bit of climbing, and then I knew it was going to be a hard weekend with the gravel rally. So I just did like a couple of hours on the Friday and some openers, then did the time trial in the evening. So it was a night time trial, full gas, got some new peak powers. I think it's 10-minute peak power. And then the gravel rally, and to be honest, my legs were a bit sluggish all week, and I struggled a bit at the start of the gravel rally in the special stages. I was predominantly trying to chase my friend Manu, who's a bit of a beast on these shorter efforts. But my goal was, by the end of the day, beat Manu on the special stages. And during the day, I just came better and better and better. And then there was a long 50-minute effort, and I was just able to hold threshold for a really long time. And then the last stage, Manny did have a mechanical, but I like to think I had him on the ropes, at least on the climbs anyway. So that was a really good hit out, good for the confidence. I think I did peak 5-minute, 10-minute, and 20-minute power numbers for the year in the gravel rally, which was nice. And that was a big day out. So 427 TSS, 100 the day before as well. So it's a big old week. That was quite a hard week. 1,176 total TSS. If you're not going to get fit from that, I don't know what's going to happen. So that was a hard week, and then I had a day off the next day because I was quite tired. And then I knew I'd done a big hit, so I just wanted to. I didn't want to overdo it. So this is basically the last week before my taper. So I started off just with a couple of hours, just endurance, but every sort of 10 minutes, just do a 10-second burst. It's not a sprint. That's to be clear. It's not a sprint. It's basically a burst up to, I don't know, like halfway between threshold and a sprint, I'd say. But I find it's quite good just to kind of wake your legs up a little bit. And then I got back and did some heat just to keep that adapted. And then I went back into my kind of what I'd done before. This time, instead of 4x6, I did 3x8 minute super threshold efforts. And again, I was a little bit tired, but feeling quite good. And then 4 1-minute VO2 maxes at the end there. The last week was in my legs a bit, so it wasn't anything spectacular in terms of numbers. But then the next day I went back to the sweet spot bursts. So 3 hours and then the 3 sets of over-unders with some heat work. And then I did my last gym session in the evening as well. And it took me ages to get out of the house. I was knackered, just so tired, dragging myself out. Nearly didn't go out. I thought it was going to be horrendous. And then, it was easy. It was bizarre. Like my body just came round, and I felt like I'd really turned a corner there, and really soaking up the form. So that was nice. I mean, no sort of power, records or anything like that, but just being able to perform that workout after all the work I'd done before was quite encouraging. And then I did 6.5 hours the next day. That was a good sort of final week training. And then just to top that off, I think one of the key things is specificity when you're peaking for something. And it's not like I'm doing a road race or anything like that. I'm not going out to do intervals. I think being specific for an ultra race, and I think this is probably where it differentiates from other disciplines, is you're basically going out for a long ride. So I went bikepacking. So I went up to the Peak District. The Peak District is not too far from me. There's a video out on my YouTube if you've not seen it. And basically I picked a route which was really hilly, some quite technical climbs, because it's kind of then similar to the terrain I'm going to encounter in Greece. Obviously, I'm not going to be climbing for 2 hours in the Peak District, but you can get some sort of good 10-20 minute climbs, which I don't have here in Cambridgeshire, but they're just repetitive climbs, which was what I was aiming to do. So that was a big day out, camped out overnight, and then finished up on the Monday. So that was 8 hours riding, a bit of night riding too, a little bit of hiker bike, things I'm going to encounter in the Hellenic race. So that ended up being another basically 24-hour week, over 1,000 TSS again. And you can see by the numbers here, I'm quite tired. And then, another almost 6 hours the next day, but that was a little bit more chill. But you can see by the time I'd finished, I was on 140 TSS. So nothing kind of spectacular in terms of power or anything like that. I was pretty tired, but I did it's just about putting the hours in. And then rested. So as I record, I'm on Monday the 18th. So you'll be seeing this by the time the race starts. You'll be seeing this. So I'll put a link onto the tracker if you want to see how I'm getting on. And I guess we'll see how it works. But I basically was super tired. Did nothing for 2 days. Just did some build intervals. So a bit of tempo, a bit of sweet spot, and then sort of a build up to sort of threshold. Had another day off. Did an hour and a half. I was going to ride on the Sunday, but to be honest, I woke up and it was crappy weather. It's been really cold in the UK and I just couldn't be bothered. So I did some stretching instead. I didn't bother riding my bike. But I think it's no bad thing being over fresh for an ultra. It's not like you need to be super sharp on the start line. I think you can afford to kind of build into them. So that's kind of where I'm at today. I just did a heat workout, saw my physio. She's sorted me out, ironed out a few little kind of lumps in my legs, made sure I'm all kind of square, and then I'm off to Thessaloniki in Greece in the morning. So just the logistics of this race mean that it's actually simpler to ride out from Thessaloniki and fly home from Athens. So I'm expecting a couple of longish days. It's about 200k from the airport to the start town, but I'm going to take it chill. So probably 3-4 hours a day to cover that distance. But the good thing is I think that will really help my body just get into the rhythm, be on the bike, get used to having all my stuff on there, make sure there's no issues with the bike, gives me time to sort them out beforehand as well, and just let my body kind of ease into it, do a few big climbs on the way out, and then I'll have a little rest, maybe a spin, maybe not, and then we're off on the race. So Saturday the 23rd I'll be off. I'll put the link to the tracker on the screen so you can click on that when you see this video and see how I'm getting on, see if this training actually works or whether I've been leading you down the garden path. Hopefully I can do well. So thanks very much for watching and thanks for all the support. Give us a like and a subscribe if you do enjoy this kind of content. I've also got caps on my little web shop. There's a couple of colorways. So if you like what I do and you want to support that, then maybe have a look at the web shop, and that helps me keep on doing what I do. So in the meantime, thanks very much. And there'll be a load of Hellenic Mountain Race content coming up when I'm back from Greece in a couple of weeks. So thanks and see you soon.